Hello and welcome back to my vlog. I'm going to be reading off the laptop today. I printed out the wrong thing, so I don't feel like printing it out and using more paper. We're on to part 16 of the Troward book, The Creative Process in the Individual, and that's part 3 of chapter 8, The Denouement of the Creative Process. If such a suggestion were effectively impressed upon our subjective mind, then by the fundamental law of our nature, our subjective mind would act in strict accordance with this suggestion, with the result that the objective mind would no longer be separated from it, and that we should carry with us into the unseen our whole mentality, both subjective and objective, and so be able to exercise our inductive powers of selection and initiative as well there as here. Why not? The answer is that we cannot accept any suggestion unless we believe it to be true, and to believe it to be true, we must feel that we have a solid foundation for our belief. If then we can find a sufficient foundation for adequately impressing this suggestion upon ourselves, then the principles of mental law assure us that we shall carry our objective faculty of initiative and selection into the unseen. Therefore, our quest is to find this foundation. Then, since we cannot accept as true what we believe to be contrary to the ultimate law of the universe, if we are to find such a foundation at all, it must be within that law. And it is for this reason that I have laid so much stress upon the normal standard of human individuality. When we are convinced that this ideal completeness is quite normal, and is a spiritual fact, not dependent upon the body, but able to control the body, then we have got the solid basis on which to carry our objective personality along with us into the unseen. And the well-established laws of our mental constitution justify the belief that we can do so. From these considerations, it is obvious that those who thus pass over in possession of their complete mentality must be in a very different position from those who pass into a condition of merely subjective life. For they have brought their powers of selection and initiative with them, and can therefore employ their experience in the unseen as a starting point for still further development. So then the question arises, what lines will this further development be likely to follow? We are now considering the case of persons who have reached a very high degree of development, who have succeeded in so completely uniting the subjective and objective portions of their spiritual being into a perfect whole that they can never again be severed, and who are therefore able to function with their whole consciousness on the spiritual plane. Such persons will doubtless be well aware that they have attained this degree of development by the law of the creative process, working in terms of their own individuality. And so they would naturally always refer to the original cosmic creation as the demonstration of the principle which they have to specialize for their own further evolution. Then they would find that the principle involved is that of the manifestation of spirit in form, and they would further see that this manifestation is not an illusion, but a reality. For the simple reason that both mind and matter are equally projections from the great originating spirit. Both alike are thoughts of the divine mind, and it is impossible to conceive any greater reality than the divine thought, or to get any more substantial source of reality than that. Even if we were to picture the divine mind as laughing at its productions, as being mere illusions relatively to itself, which I certainly do not, still, the relation between the individual mind and material existence would be a reality for the individual, on the simple mathematical ground that like signs multiplied together invariably produce a positive result, even though the signs themselves be negative, so that, for us, at every stage of our existence, substance must always be as much a reality as mind. Therefore, the manifestation of spirit in form is the eternal principle of the creative process, whether in the evolution of a world system or in that of an individual. But when we realize that by the nature of the creative process, substance must be an eternal verity, we must not suppose that this is true also of particular forms or of particular modes of matter. Substance is a necessity for the expression of spirit, but it does not follow that spirit is tied down to any particular mode of expression. If you fold a piece of paper into the form of a dart, it will fly through the air by the law of the form which you have given it. Again, if you take the same bit of paper and fold it into the shape of a boat, it will float on water by the law of the new form that you have given it. The thing formed will act in accordance with the form given it, and the same paper can be folded into different forms. But if there were no paper, you could put it into any shape. But if there were no paper, you could put it into any shape at all. I don't get that. The dart and the boat are both real, so long as you retain the paper in either of those shapes. But this does not alter the fact that you can change the shapes, though your power to do so depends on the existence of the paper. This is a rough analogy of the relation between ultimate substance and particular forms, and shows us that neither substance nor shape is an illusion. Both are essential to the manifestation of spirit. Only by the nature of the creative process, the spirit has power to determine what shape substance shall take at any particular time. Accordingly, we find the great law that as spirit is the alpha of the creative process, so solid material form is its omega. In other words, the creative series is incomplete until solid material form is reached. Anything short of this is a condition of incompleteness, and therefore the enlightened souls who have passed over in possession of both sides of their mentality will realize that their condition, however beatific, is still one of incompleteness, and that what is wanted for completion is expression through a material body. This, then, is the direction in which such souls would use their powers of initiative and selection as being the true line of evolution. In a word, they would realize that the principle of creative progression, when it reaches the level of fully developed mental man, necessarily implies the resurrection of the body, and that anything short of this would be retrogression and not progress. At the same time, persons who had passed over with this knowledge would never suppose that resurrection meant merely the resuscitation of the old body under the old conditions. For they would see that the same inherent law which makes expression in concrete substance the ultimate of the creative series also makes this ultimate form depend on the originating movement of the spirit which produces it, and therefore that, although some concrete form is essential for complete manifestation, and is a substantial reality so long as it is maintained, yet the maintaining of this particular form is entirely dependent on the action of the spirit, of which the form is the external clothing. This resurrection body would therefore be no mere illusory spirit shape, yet it would not be subject to the limitations of matter as we now know it. It would be physical matter still, but entirely subject to the will of the indwelling spirit, which would not regard the denser atomic relations of the body, but only its absolute and essential nature as primary substance. I want the student to grasp the idea that the same thing may be very different when looked at, so to say, from opposite ends of the stick. What is solid molecular matter when viewed from the outside is plastic primary substance when viewed from the inside. The relations of this new body to any stimulus proceeding from outside would be those of the external laws of nature, but its relation to the spiritual ego, working from within, would be that of a plastic substance to be molded at will. The employment of such power would, however, at all times be based upon the reverent worship of the all-creating spirit, and it would therefore never be exercised otherwise than in accordance with the harmonious progress of the creative process. Proceeding on these lines, the spirit of the individual would stand in precisely the same relation to his body that the all-originating spirit does to the cosmos. And there we have the end of part 3 of chapter 8, the denouement of spirit. I'm not sure I understood everything in there. I'll have to go back and pay a little closer attention. So, once again, make it a great day, and bye for now.